Summer banner number 2 is here, so we'll be going over all the new units, stats, and skills. I knew the first summer banner was too good for me because I suspected Sacred Stones was coming again, and it turned out to be true. Every even year has had Sacred Stone ults, so I'll be ready for that summer Ephraim in 2 years' time. In the present though, we got summer ults for Lyon and Eirika. Joining them from Fae will be Nifl, and our duo of Thor and Loki, our secretive antagonists involved behind the scenes. I am literally gonna walk into CYL with no orbs this year, man. The 4-star focus unit is Summer Lyon, his second 4-star focus appearance. I plus 10 Little Lyon last time, but I doubt I'm going to be able to do that for this one. Now let's just set some expectations for this banner. The first summer banner is absolutely stupid strong, and there was basically a 0% chance whoever the next 4-star focus unit was would be better than Summer Claude. Lyon is neat, but yeah, there's no way he's a stronger pick. Summer Lyon actually takes a weapon this time and is a sword infantry unit. Unlike the many speedy sword masters in the game, Lyon is tanking speed for great attack, defense, and res. 42 HP, 42 attack, 21 speed, 37 defense, and 39 res. Tied for the highest res with Summer Harmonic Edelgard, and 42 attack is actually pretty high for a sword user. Lyon has super boons in both stats. While Lyon isn't super min-maxed, he's not like Skahawk who has some speed to work with. Lyon dashes any hopes of speed builds for a very solid defense and res, and there are not that many sword infantry with this stat spread. For ult skills, Lyon's gonna come with Moonbow, which is kind of an odd choice to me. He then has attack and defense ideal 3 and low attack and defense 3. Low attack and defense is a solid B skill and great for a lot of units. For example, I wouldn't mind getting an extra copy to feed my dual crown. No fallen star, but we'll take a low for sure. With no speed and low attack and defense, it would seem like Lyon is set to be your typical Quicker Post tank. Well, Coral Saber Plus disagrees and is a game changer for inheritable swords. 14 might, and if unit initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grants plus 5 attack and defense to unit during combat, and unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack. It's finally happened. We've power creeped our way into inheritable weapons that come with free follow-ups. This isn't even some kind of gimmicky activation condition, it's a pretty standard method for a lot of unique weapons, and it works on both phases. We are getting an Axe version with the Tempest Draws unit, and this is literally just better than OG Armads, which still hasn't had a refine yet. I do not understand why they're scared of it. Core Saber Plus fills a very good niche for a lot of slower units. No more quicker posts if you're near an ally, and you get player phase presence, which is super strong. Even fast units can use this weapon to simulate offensive no follow-up. You can cancel a follow-up prevention, and you win the speed check to double. They have been adding more and more inheritable swords this year because we lacked a lot of them, but Core Saber Plus definitely takes a top spot option for pretty much anyone. That's just how powerful follow-up attacks can be in Fae. As mentioned with Core Saber Plus, Summer Lyon is not tied down to just being a quicker post tank. He may not have Fallen Star, but low attack and defense is perfectly fine with free follow-up attacks, and attack and defense ideal is okay if you can get some buffs. We are getting the tier 4 Oath C skills with this banner, and they're fantastic choices for ideal skills. If we get an attack and defense or attack and res variant, Lyon can run those as well. Now, the odd thing about Lyon's base kit is Moonbow. It's fine if you can run it with something like Steady Breath to instantly counter back, but with his high attack, defense, and res, you could also just use things like Dragon Fang, Bonfire, or Glacies. Since Core Saber works on either phase, Heavy Blade is a good choice for special spam. Lyon has a lot of different options, mainly because Core Saber gives you killing power without needing quicker posts. Sure, it's counterable, and he will not win any speed checks, but this is so much better than a lot of other options, and it's really fun for general content. You could run enemy phase centric builds like with Sturdy Stance 3, Distant Counter, or Bonds and Forms. However, Lyon can also do mixed phase with things like Attack Smoke 4 or Menace skills. Low attack and defense works for offense and defense, so it's really hard to replace. However, let's consider Tempo B skills. This is no guard and no special charge. Consistent special charging and countering enemy cooldown reduction like Steady Breath or Flashing Blade. I still think there's room for Tempo plus guard to shine in this game. However, unless you take the guard sword, you're only gonna have the tier 3 dual stances for that. Obviously, at the moment, there's only speed and defense tempo, and that's not the best for 21 base speed Lyon. I would wait for attack and defense tempo if possible. Since it just came out and is still available, an unconventional playstyle would be Assault Troop from Harmonic Edelgard. Lyon's got a player phase, even if it's not the strongest, and you can snag attack and defense ideal 4 from her as well. Overall, Summer Lyon is definitely not going to live up to Summer Claude's hype, but that's okay, no one was going to do that anyway. He tries to bring a slower, tankier stat spread for sword infantry, he's going to have low attack and defense, and Core Saber Plus is an amazing new inheritable option. If you wanted to build up a sword unit slow or fast, this is definitely a top tier choice for all kinds of playstyles. Next up is Summer Eirika, drawn by Wada once again. I already bought 3 hopes, but Nintendo Systems really wants my money this summer. Eirika is going back to taking magic lessons, and she's a flying green mage this time. For stats, she has 39 HP, 39 attack, 42 speed, 25 defense, and 22 res. Attack and speed super boons. Very offensive like her Brave ult, and Eirika will be drawing from that experience for this ult. For ult skills, you got Luna and the rare Steady Impact for plus 7 speed and plus 10 defense. That 10 defense is going to be important. Eirika's Tome is the Carrying Conch, which has 14 might and accelerates specials. If the unit initiates combat within 2 spaces of an ally, grant plus 5 to all stats, grants offensive no follow-up, grants guard, and after combat you apply the guard status to everyone within 2 spaces of the target. I guess you could just call this guard smoke. Mage flyers are typically extremely squishy and lack defensive options, but Summer Eirika is going to try to challenge enemies. She's gonna get hit, and you basically have to rely on Steady Impact and guard to stay alive. Is that enough to survive? We'll have to see. If you're familiar with Brave Eirika, Moonlit Bango F is literally just Moonlight Bango, but with Conto 1 instead of 2. Makes sense since our Summer Eirika is ranged. This skill is incredibly strong. It gives no guard, and on special trigger you deal X% of the foe's defense as extra true damage. This is like a Moonbo or Luna proc. X is going to be equal to the max special cooldown value of Eirika's special times 10 plus a flat 20. So with Luna, accelerated specials brings it down to 2 cooldown. 2 times 10 is 20, 20 plus 20 is 40% of the foe's defense, aka that's almost an entire Luna proc. Basically, if you run regular Luna, you got a better Black Luna when it goes off with no guard, and Eirika's gonna proc Luna on her second hit after taking a counterattack. Like her Brave ult, this thing is gonna hurt a ton. Now do notice that despite dealing magic damage this time, Moonlit Bango F still targets the foe's defense. Is that a copy-paste mistake or intended? Well, I think it's intended because normally you're going to target resistance, but if the foe has higher defense than res, Eirika is going to get more damage out of that. This is less effective against pure res tanks, but everything about her kit signals at trying to survive and spank the general distant counter tank. I'll talk about this more in a bit. Summer Eirika brings a new tier 4 skill, which I've talked about a lot because I think it's pretty strong. Attack and speed Duo Thorr states at start of turn, if unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, grant plus 6 attack and speed field buffs and the warp status. Additionally, if you fight within 2 spaces of any ally, you get plus 3 attack and speed during combat. Wow. Tier 4 OC skills got a massive buff. Rouse 4 skills just got Now Panic. Oath 4's not only improve its activation range to 2 spaces, but it gives the warp status, and it gives more stats in combat. That is pretty wild. As a reminder, Oath C skills are inheritable by infantry and flyers. I would say this is an actual competitor to Reigns because you can get stats via the C slot here, and I'm not talking about the field buffs. As for infantry, the warp status and field buffs work for things like ideal 4A skills. We're also getting a bonus doubler Sacred Seal if you want to combo that together. Oath 4s are selfish, but they might be upgrades if you previously used the things like joint drives or rain C skills just for your own benefit. Adding warping to it is kind of just insane as well. I would definitely consider these skills if you're going to be fighting near your team. Okay, so altogether Summer Eirika has shades of Brave Eirika, but you trade out certain perks. She loses Duo Effectiveness, 30% damage reduction, and you can't use Surge Sparrow to heal up. But in exchange for this, you're going to get Guard and Steady Impacts plus 10 defense and fallout prevention. I have a super maxed out Brave Eirika, and her major weakness is just dying to a special proc even with damage reduction. Guard kind of solves this issue, but is the 10 extra damage enough to offset 30% damage reduction, which is also going to affect magic damage? That's the question. Besides that, Summer Eirika plays the same way. If she outspeeds you, you charge Luna after 1 hit, and after you take 1 counterattack. Hit number 2 procs Luna, and that means Moonlit Bango applies its true damage. After combat, you have Contra to run away. This is all good, but Summer Eirika does not have Surge Sparrow to heal, and that means she probably is not going to be able to delete multiple foes in a fight. It's so stupid when my Brave Eirika fights a green unit, takes decent damage, but heals back to full HP because max percent HP is busted. In exchange for sustain, Summer Eirika is going to have her Flyer Mobility, and Oath 4 gives Warping, not to mention she's dealing magic damage and she's ranged. For the most part, I think we need to try out this Eirika before changing any skills. If you do not bring Steady Impact, you only have plus 5 defense and res as protection, and Eirika has to take a counterattack. Even if you stop his special, that's very risky. You could try attacking Res Menace or an attack Rain for extra debuffs, but attack speed Oath brings some very good damage since Steady Impact doesn't boost attack. I mean, technically, Moonlit Bango can bring more than enough firepower, but hey, you never know. Since we have flyer mobility, Eirika can bring a fun secret seal like guidance or flyer guidance. She can warp, attack, Kanto move, and then ferry an ally using guidance. I think there's some fun to be had with this, and definitely another scary teammate for something like Harmonic Catria. Last thing I want to mention is going with 4 cooldown specials like Dragon Fang or Astra with Heavy Blade. The main reason I do this with Brave Eirika is because Search Sparrow scales higher for its healing. You go from 50% to 70% max HP, and that's worth it to me. If it's just Moonlit Bangle though, you only go from 40% defense to 50% defense, and might not be worth it when you can just use something like Blade Session. I think Summer Eirika is going to be a menace, but she can't continuously assault units over and over. I will mention again that all these mages with accelerated specials and no guard absolutely could abuse a mage-specific special, especially if it's one that negates damage reduction skills. Will that day ever come? Maybe CYO, we'll have to see. Our third summer unit is Summer Nifl, which might point to a Winter Muspel later this year. Nifl is a unique unit type as only she and Muspel are cavalry dragons. They get 3 movement but will deal melee magic damage. This time Nifl is a colorless dragon cav with 39 HP, 38 attack, 43 speed, 28 defense, and 26 res. She is super fast with a speed super boon, and Nifl is going to be dealing some damage. For old skills, she's going to come with Glimmer, the very strong attack speed catch 4, and Nifl does bring her Domain of Ice C skill. As a reminder, this has a Joint Drive speed and Joint Drive res effect. It also has a 30% damage reduction aura, so it's a really good support tool for Nifl's teammates. Nifl's weapon is going to be called Chilled Breath, probably from all the shaved ice she is consuming. 16 might accelerate specials, and if Nifl initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, she gets plus 6 attack and speed, no follow-up, and if she has 5 or more speed than the foe, she prevents their counterattacks. Very deadly and annoying weapon. Unlike her base form, which applies the flash status to help allies after combat, Nifl takes that for herself during her own combat. She needs to outspeed to get fire sweep, which means she naturally doubles, and with no follow-up in her weapon, that means she's guaranteed to hit twice anyway. With accelerated specials, she's going to proc Glimmer on her second attack unless you face guard. Generally speaking, this is a player phase type weapon, but no follow-up with Domain of Ice's damage reduction can prove to be decent defensive power. It's going to be tough to utilize Domain of Ice when attacking if you extend past the team, but after combat, Nifl has Kanto. She is introducing speed and res near trace, which is important because we did not have a res near trace variant, meaning dragons didn't really have a good pure offensive Kanto skill. Now they do, and this can apply to other units like Patrine, who targets resistance. Obviously there's not too many player phase type dragons out there, but they do exist, and who knows, maybe we'll get another magic damage weapon like Patrine's Lance. Summer Nifl is definitely a fun unit. She gets a much more offensive weapon while retaining Domain of Ice for AoE damage reduction for her team. She also doesn't need Domain of Ice when attacking herself because she has Fire Sweep. Obviously speed's going to be very important for Nifl, so just pile on as much as you can get. No reason to abandon attack and speed catch 4 or speed and res near trace, and take your attack and speed secret seal of choice. Thanks to Kanto, Nifl can initiate, retreat, and hopefully her team backs her up. When the enemy phase happens, Domain of Ice can provide 30% damage reduction, and no follow-up keeps Nifl safe from free follow-up attacks. She isn't super tanky, but she's going to be annoying to take out, especially if you can't deal with Fire Sweep. She has 3 movement, magic damage, and she procs Glimmer if you don't bring guard. Lots of good stuff. Sadly, as a dragon, no Gale Force, which is a big shame. I don't feel like she needs any of the Dragon B skills, but you could instead run something like a Lull or Ruse B skill if you want it to be more defensive. For example, if you just need Domain of Ice for your team, you want the damage reduction, a Rally Ruse setup can further support your team. For aid skills, you could mess around with Distant Counter, but again, Catch 4 is just really good. For aid skills, you could technically use a Menace for more player phase power since Domain of Ice doesn't really activate. Speed Smoke 4 could replace it with Dodge, however, Domain of Ice provides that team support if someone else needs to fight. Personally, I don't think it's worth changing out. One downside for Nifl is only having Heavy Blade as her cooldown option. She has decent attack, but Flashing Blade would have been nice to have too. With Heavy Blade, you can proc 3 cooldown specials on her second attack, for example, Luna. Honestly though, really would have loved to have Gale Force here. Overall, Summer Nifl is a solid looking unit. Offensive dragon with 3 movement, Fire Sweep, no follow-up, and Domain of Ice is still a great C skill. Last up is Summer Duo Thorr and Loki. Man, between the house leaders, a couple lords, and the Thorr Loki duo and 10 systems, we must really need money for the next Fire Emblem game. There is a next Fire Emblem game coming, right? Well, until then, we got our scheming antagonist with Duo Thorr being a flying mage. She has 40 HP, 43 attack, 16 speed, 30 defense, and 38 res. Attack and res super boost, but you 100% want plus attack if you're going to stick with her base kit. Very unusual stat spread for a flying mage, but Duo Thorr is very unique in general. For old skills, she has Blazing Thunder, Still Water 4, and Attack and Res Far Trace. Should seem pretty familiar because Thor can use AoE specials if you want. She also brings World Breaker, which grants +1 special charge to Thor and nearby allies. World Breaker is very fun since a lot of unit types cannot get Steady Breath type cooldown. It will help Thor recharge her AoE special in this scenario. For her weapon, Divine Whimsy, it has 14 might and exercise specials. At start of every turn, inflict exposure and stall on the slowest foe and to anyone within 2 spaces of that. Additionally, if Thor is near an ally, she also gets -1 special cooldown count at the start of the turn. At start of combat though, if Thor is healthy, she gets +6 attack and inflicts -6 attack. So basically, Duo Thorr can get -1 cooldown every single turn when you start near an ally, similar to Time's Pulse or Quicken Pulse. As such, Blazing Thunder will be on a 3 cooldown, and so in 3 turns, Thor is going to pre-charge that special without doing anything. If you face Duo Thorr, you probably don't want to let that happen. Combat wise, this weapon isn't that crazy, but Exposure is a new status effect. Basically, when on a unit, the foe's attacks deal +10 damage. That's really good. Thor debuffs the slowest foe with Exposure, and it's like a debuff, so everyone on your team just deals 10 extra damage per hit. Suffice to say, but this is busted with a Brave weapon. That's a free 20 damage for your 2-tap, and if you quad, that's 40 true damage. I pray you don't try to tank this if Duo Thorr is paired with someone like Harmonicatria. For their dual skill, inflict gravity on anyone in cardinal directions, very nice to stop advances. You will also neutralize any bonuses active on foes within 5 rows or 5 columns centered on Thor. If the foe has field buffs but also panic, the dual skill won't disable the field buffs because then panic's not going to be doing anything. At first, this seems like a really strong dual skill. I don't think there's anything that just flat out gets rid of status effects like this. We've had lulls to deal with field buffs, but you can't get rid of things like the dodge status, the no farm status, dominance, or warp bubble as a status. Thor and Loki's dual skill seem to be an answer to this. However, you have to remember that it just neutralizes any active bonuses at the time. What I mean is that if you disable Harmonicatria's triangle attack or warping status effects, that's cool, but ultimately it's really useless in your player phase. The enemy isn't attacking during your turn. When it switches back to the enemy phase, Catria just reapplies all her buffs, and the same goes for any other movement type buffs. This dual skill must be used proactively to disable things like Fallen Star or Dodge, then you attack in the same turn. If you just want gravity to slow down an enemy though, then that's fine, but for neutralizing bonuses, you gotta take action. Overall, Duo Thorr and Loki offer a lot of team support. They have AoE Exposure, which is extra damage for your whole team, Stall's gonna mess up movement bonuses, and World Breaker grants cooldown to anyone. With the dual skill, you got gravity in a line, and bonus neutralization can be good to take out a specific target. For Thor's own combat power, the idea of her base kit is to just wait 3 turns and you charge up Blazing Thunder, you unleash the AoE special on some poor fool, and the finishing hit in combat nets you 2 special charge thanks to World Breaker. Thor is not going to be able to recharge the full Blazing Thunder after 1 combat, but on the following player phase, Divine Whimsy kicks in and is going to give you that -1 cooldown. With Still Water, you're going to get +5 flat attack, which boosts Blazing Thunder, and Exposure is another 10 damage. From the trailer, it doesn't seem like the Exposure status affects the AoE attack, it's just the one in combat. After you nuke someone, you got Far Trace Console to run away if possible. Very simple game plan with a lot of team support. For max AoE damage, you're going to want Life and Death as your Sacred Seal. Hardy Bearing will counter advantage if needed. I wouldn't change anything here, but you could swap out something like Far Trace for Sabotage Res. The reason being, Thor has high flat res and you got Still Water, and res debuffs means more AoE damage overall. If you don't need Kanto, this isn't a bad option. You can also use a flyer mobility skill like Aerobatics or Flyer Formation. These can be Sacred Seals as well. While AoE specials are devastating, if you don't want to wait around, you can charge Glimmer, Moonbow, or Ruptured Sky every single turn. Divine Whimsy is kind of like just having accelerated specials plus Time's Pulse. The only thing you need to do is be near a teammate every turn. That's pretty easy. Overall, very interesting unit for sure. They don't really have to do anything, and Exposure and Stall is going to land on someone. 10 extra damage is a lot, and we have a banner full of Brave type weapons that synergize with it. I feel like Duo Thorr is going to be on some defense teams. If you like using a slow main tank, well, good luck. I hope you have damage reduction. If you have no orbs, or you're still summoning on the last banner, we have another Tempest Trials coming up, and another free unit. This time it's Summerseth, who finally gets an ult. I'm excited, and his weapon is like Lyon, so definitely worth a look at if you are, or even if you aren't going to use him. I am praying for some more continued luck on this banner. I really want Lyon and Eirika, but a Duo Thorr wouldn't be unwelcome either. That's all I got for this video. Good luck on summoning, and see you in the next one.